Hi everyone, my name's Lindsay. I am a third grade teacher in Pennsylvania and I recently became new to Cricut and I've started enjoying posting on like the Facebook pages of some of the things that I've done, and I've had a few people ask me how I've done the things that I do. So I thought that maybe I would just make a video explaining how to make a really large Bitmoji, whether it's for a bulletin board or for your window, like what I'm doing outside of my classroom. So I'm going to show you guys today how you can make this. This is my Bitmoji and it stands 15 inches tall, and it's going to go outside of my classroom window at my school. So, and again, if it's not a Bitmoji that you want to do, if it's just a larger character or a larger image, this video can show you how you can do any of that. um, I just want to say I am no Cricut expert and I'm no expert with technology. So this is all very, very new for me. As you can see, I'm in my room, my Cricut's on my bed, and my lighting is terrible. So this is just something that I'm definitely not used to, but I'm trying it out in hopes that maybe it can help one teacher or just maybe a parent or anyone who's a crafter, help them out, or anyone that's new to Cricut, because this definitely would have helped me when I was learning the ins and outs of Cricut for making bulletin boards and things for my classroom. So I really hope this helps, and I hope you guys like the video.
So this is how you are going to be able to make your Bitmoji or whatever the image is that you want enlarged, bigger than the regular paper size. What you're going to do is open up Cricut Design Space, and then you want to upload your image. So you want to make sure that you already had add your image into Cricut Design Space, and then you're going to add it to Canvas. So you see it comes in super tiny, and I'm just going to use this button right here. I'm just going to click on it to stretch it out to the size that I want. So since I'm putting it on our window for outside, I think 15 inches or about 15 inches down is good. And then I am going to duplicate it just so I can kind of use it as a reference for when I'm done. And you'll see what I mean then in a little bit. And then I'm just going to hide it. And you can see then that right here it has this little hazard sign. And that's letting you know that your image is exceeding the paper size. So it can't be larger than 6.75 by 9.25. So, how you can make it though, where it's still going to be this length, or however the length is that you want to go over to shapes, and then you want to hit the square. And it comes in as a 2 by 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this right here. So this is where you can unlock your shape size. And I'm going to make my width what that paper length is. So I'm going to do 6.75. And then I'm going to have it by 9.22. And the reason I'm changing it to that rather than 0.25 is I've noticed in the past when I've made it 9.25, it still says that maybe it's a little big because maybe it's not exactly 9.25, it could be a little bit over. So I just always go a little bit lower than what is required just to be safe. So this is the size 6.75 by 9.22, 9.25 if it works for you, that you can have your image. And I'm going to also duplicate this, and you will see why I do that then in a little bit. I'll duplicate it 3 times just to be safe, and I'm going to hide 2 of them so that I'm only working with 1 right now. So now what you're going to want to do is take your square, and you want to like double click or right click on your mouse, your pad, so that this pops up, and you want to hit send to back. Now you can see what you're doing. So I'm going to move my Bitmoji and move my square where I want it so that I think it's going to be easiest for when I'm piecing together my shape. So what I mean by is like if I did it right here, I'd be piecing together part of the hand with either tape or glue, staples, however I might decide to do it. And that just might be a little bit difficult. So I'm going to move the square so that it's a little bit easier for me to piece together. So I think that's pretty good the way it's going to split. That way I can kind of piece together the hair and the arm together. I think that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight over my image and I'm going to hit slice. Now what it does is it breaks apart my image. So now if you look over here, the slice results, it's letting you know it doesn't have the hazard sign now. So you're able to print and cut that. And that'll be compatible then. And you can see that the dimensions are compatible with cutting and printing. So now you can just get rid of this then, because you don't need that. Oops, nope, you still need this. You can get rid of this. I'm just going to highlight over it and delete it. And then you can see that this is still too big. Still letting you know. So now I'm going to unhide my square again, and I'm just going to repeat those same exact steps. So what I think I'm going to do this time is I will slice it maybe right there. That way I'm not having to piece together any hair. I think I'm going to do it like that. Okay. I'm going to highlight over and just repeat those same steps. I'm going to hit slice and then it takes apart the rest of my image. And then even my arm is okay. So everything now is okay. So I don't even need this other square actually. I only needed it twice. But now I can piece it together and make sure I sliced it well. And that's what I mean then by hiding this other bitmoji here so that you can kind of use it for a guide or reference. And you don't have to if you don't want to. But I just think it might be easier and helpful for me. But I'm just going to make sure that I did this how I want it, or at least pretty accurate. And I'll piece her together to make sure that's how I want it for when I print. Yeah, I can tell that's going to be about right. And I'll undo my image and then I'll see that I got it exactly how I wanted it. All right. So now I'm going to delete the very large image that I don't need, the one that's not sliced. And then I'm also going to delete the square because I do not need that. And now I'm going to hit make it. You'll see then that it sorts it into 3 different pieces on the mat for you. Now these are going to be the pieces that you're going to be able to cut then, and they're the correct size then, and it's compatible with Cricut. And I'll show you how that works then in just a second.
All right, so I sent my images to the printer and it printed out in 3 sections, just like how I showed you it was going to on the computer. And now it's ready to cut. One last step that I like to do before I do the cutting is I like to laminate my things first. So I made like classroom economy dollars. I've made other Bitmojis for bulletin boards. This one's going to go on the inside of my classroom, but it's going to be on the window so that parents and students can see which one's my classroom from the outside of the building. So I like to laminate it though, because I think that I will get it to last longer and it'll be a lot more durable if I do laminate my items or objects. So I just bought this laminating roll off of Amazon. It's from Style Tech Craft. Um, and it's just a roll I'm able to cut pieces off of it, and I'm going to be able to put it on my images, cardstock, paper, whatever it is that I want. And you want to make sure that when you're cutting this, you are measuring with like a ruler maybe. I'm guilty of sometimes not doing that and it gets a little bit more tricky, but you want to make sure that you have it exactly perfect inside the black lines because you do not want to get it on the black lines because the black lines are actually sensors. So I will show you how I then put the laminating on my paper before I cut it. Okay, so I'm going to laminate it, and I just cut some pieces off of the roll that I showed you. So here's like a piece, but honestly, you really should be measuring it correctly. I was just kind of like eyeing it, looking at it to try and do it that way. And honestly, it's just a lot easier if you kind of just get out your ruler and start measuring. But you want to make sure that you're going over your image and that you're avoiding the black lines, because if you put it over the black lines, then it will not cut your image correctly because those black lines are sensors. So what I like to do is I like to take just a little bit off first and then line it up how I'm going to use it. Like this. And then I fold it back so that I can avoid air bubbles. Just like that. Now it's laminated. And then if you feel comfortable or you want to, you can take this tool that you get with your Cricut and just go over it just so you're really making sure that there is no air bubbles. And my light's kind of giving it like a glare right now, but you just want to go over it and make sure you have no air bubbles. And then it will look like this. So it's laminated. And then now I'm just going to do my other two that I have. So I'll do that super quick. So now we have the print and cut. I laminated over my image, and now it's time for me to start cutting my image. So I loaded it onto my mat, my very dirty mat. I have to clean it. And you want to make sure that you're picking the right settings. Because I put laminate over it, and I'm a little worried that it won't cut the whole thing through. Because of that, I'm going to say that it's poster board, just to be more on the safe side. And then I'm going to say that I'm using the cardstock, like with the poster board. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to default it and hit more pressure just to be on the safe side with this. So I'm going to hit the button so that it goes in. And now it's going to start scanning my image. And it will scan the image correctly and cut it correctly because that lamination is nowhere near the black lines. All right, so it perfectly cut out my first image, and now I'm going to do it with the rest. Okay, so now I have the three pieces laid out, and now it's just time to assemble them as to how I want it, which really just following the cuts, but just making sure it looks nice. So what I kind of like to do so that way you don't necessarily see that you have all these lines is I try to overlap just a tiny bit as best as I can. Now, again, I feel like I'm not going to be able to get it perfect. And if you have a different way that works for you that might be better than this way, then I definitely suggest doing it and letting me know because I'd love to find out. This was just the easiest way that I found. But I thought that that looked pretty good from the front, so I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm just going to be using tape I'm just going to get a piece of tape and tape it down. Oh, and I noticed that this is a little bit too big of a piece. So I'm going to get a smaller one. I always have that problem where I like cut or grab something too big and then I have to cut it down versus getting maybe something smaller. Oops, now I'm shifting it all over the place. Versus getting something smaller and then maybe just adding to it. Okay, so I'm going to cut that there. Let's see what that looks like then from the front. So it's looking like this. Pretty good so far. But now we have to add this part then of the arm. And I'm really going to look at like the hair, like where the lines are for the hair, because I think that is probably going to be important here in making it look right. Okay, I think that's pretty good, but I kind of think that I should like tuck this under. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna flip it over. No, oh, I lost it a little. Ah, okay. So as you can see, like I'm definitely not perfect at this. This is definitely something I need to work on. But I will tape this part now. Actually, this other piece of tape might. Perfect. Came in handy. And then I'll probably just tape over it just a little bit to make sure. And then it looks like that. All right, so then here's the final product. Here it is. This is my bitmoji standing 15 inches tall. It's gonna go right on my window then for students or parents to see when they're outside of the building. They can see which classroom's mine by looking at the window. So like I said before, I really hope that this helps. Again, I'm no expert at this. Just started doing the Cricut for fun, making t-shirts. Like I made this t-shirt for Tuesday. I've been just making some classroom bulletin boards, just doing some fun things with Cricut. And this stuff really would have helped me. And so that's why I'm hoping that this video just helps at least one teacher or crafter or somebody who's new to Cricut, or that this just helps somebody at all. Because like I said, I'm again no expert, and clearly I'm again, like I said before, I'm in my bedroom and my lighting is awful and I'm not a video editor. But I just hope that I gave you the skills that you guys can use to create Bitmoji or whatever image you want. You can do it with any sort of picture or image that you have, a character, Bitmoji, pictures, anything. So I just really hope that this helps you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed the video.